Welcome back, folks. I am Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to be talking about the edge defenders, who is available, where the Rams go from here. Obviously, if you haven't heard already, Khalil Mack is not going to be available. I know a lot of Rams fans were hitching that wagon. I thought that'd be an interesting option, especially to pivot away from, Danielle Hunter going to the Texans. But I have a list here of all the edge defenders that are literally a possibility from youngest to oldest, and then we'll talk about the trade options. Before we dive into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on social media at JKBogan. Let's get into it. So here's the deal. When, anytime free agency happens, really the Rams don't do a ton. This year was a little bit different. They had a little bit more cap space to play with, unlike most years. And so they went ahead and they're like, all right, we're going to go out and get Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson puts us in a really good spot, gives us a bevy of help in the interior, and, shores up protection for Matthew Stafford, help in the run game for Kyron Williams. They also didn't stop there. They went after Colby Parkinson, somebody that's going to take over as a starting tight end as long as Tyler Higbee is out, because he did suffer that torn ACL on a dirty hit by Kirby Joseph. The third move, Darius Williams coming back to the Rams on a 3-year deal. That's mainly pretty much a 2-year deal, unless they want to keep him for 3. Third year is really not guaranteed much at all, but pretty much a 2-year deal to be the starting guy. So where does that leave the Rams? Well, it's hard to say how much cap space they truly have right now. There are some things that are going to be happening that I'm not going to say because I can't. But there are things that are going to be happening, and, it might alter how they want to go about, certain things. And starting off with Chase Young, the youngest on the list at 24 years old. Young is likely to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. He was 17th in pressures in 2023, and he was tied for 26th in win rate in 2023. To me, Chase Young is an option. I understand there are people that say he has issues playing through the whistle. He doesn't, give it his all. He takes plays off. I still think a guy with that talent at age 24, 17th in pressures, going from one team to another, it's hard to just move on from that opportunity if you have it. So I'm going to say Chase Young here is definitely an option. 24 years old, K'Lavon Chaisson was 107th in pressures and 98th on the year out of all edge defenders in win rate. This is a guy that I think would fit kind of the bill of what Michael Hoyt is doing. I don't think the Rams are going to go after K'Lavon Chaisson to start him. This is somebody that needs to be developed. So I wouldn't mind him being in a rotation, but if Michael Hoyt is back and doesn't get, a deal in restricted free agency, this is pretty much the role I would expect Chaisson to play. I think he's a fit in a sense. He could be added to the rotation, but currently I don't think he's a fit, and he's not going to move the needle at all. Next up, you have 26-year-old DJ Wonnum from the Minnesota Vikings, 56th in pressures, 89th in win rate. Not as good as Hoyt. I don't really see the fit there outside of just putting him as a rotational, kind of like Chaisson. Not going to move the needle. So really only Chase Young so far would be a move that you're really looking for to kind of bounce back on and be a backup plan to what happened. 26-year-old Michael Dana from the Chiefs, 50th in pressures, 92nd in win rate. Dana, he's good and he's young and he was on my list, but near the bottom. I think he's going to get paid a lot of money, and I don't think the Rams are trying to pay him a ton of money because he's 26. Because at the end of the day, Michael Hoyt is as good of a pass rusher as he is right now, to be fair. So I wouldn't say huge fit. I would really just say Chase Young at this point. Derek Barnett is intriguing. Could be kind of that guy that is in the rotation. He's a great run defender, Tied for 98th in pressures and 22nd in pressure, in pass rush win rate. That is the best on the list so far. Barnett is 27 years old. And to me, I see him as kind of a rotational guy that really helps you in the run game. I wouldn't rule him out, but I would say Chase Young is ahead of him on this list. 28 years old, you got Carl Lawson, who wasn't utilized much at all. He unfortunately had a season-ending injury that kind of threw him off. But before that, I mean, he was a really, really good pass rusher. Still only 28 years old. I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on him, but I don't know if the Rams are going to do that. I don't think he's necessarily a fit. Romeo Okwara, 28 years old, from the Lions, 100th pressures in 62nd in win rate. Okwara is a guy I wanted about 2-3 years ago, but right now I don't think it really makes a lot of sense. Again, potential rotational guy, but if we're talking starter, I don't see it. Yannick Ngakoue, age 28, 62nd in pressures this year, 115th in win rate. I don't know what happened to Yannick Ngakoue. I really have no idea. I don't think he's a fit. I think he's totally lost it. He's not the same player, so I would pass. 28 years old, Tyus Bowser, coming off a season-ending injury. I've always liked his upside. Now, he's a little bit older. I think it's worth, just kicking the tires on to add him to a rotation, but would he be your starter? No. So I would pass on him as a starter. Jacob Martin didn't really play much at all. He's somebody that I highlighted last year that I thought would be intriguing. Still only 28 years old. I don't know if he's not going to move the needle as a starter, so I'd pass on him in that regard. Charles Harris with the Lions, 81st in pressures, 87th in pass rush win rate. I'd pass on Harris. I like him. I would use him as a rotational guy. I would pass on him as a starter. DeJuan Smoot, great against the run, 107th pressures, for 107th edge overall with pressures, and 103rd in pass rush win rate. Not somebody that's really going to move the needle whatsoever, maybe even as a rotational rusher. He is a run stopper, and he's very good at it. So if you need a guy that can set the edge, come in on run downs, maybe he makes sense. As a pass rusher and starter, no, he does not. Shaq Lawson, 100th in pressures, 117th in win rate. His pressures are going to be low. There are a lot of pass rushers on the Bills, but 117th in win rate is concerning for me. I'm going to pass on Shaq Lawson entirely. 30th is Emmanuel Ogbah. Now, he kind of fell out of favor with some of the the other pass rushers there, but Ogbah's intriguing. He is 30 years old. If you could get him cheap, I think, the things that he's done in his career, he's shown flashes. 75th in win rate, 96th in pressures. I'd like him to be a little bit better, but again, this was kind of a down year. He's had better years in the past, and a guy that can get to the quarterback. I would not mind adding Ogbah as kind of a placeholder starter before you go and you draft somebody in the draft. So I like Ogbah. 31 is Randy Gregory, who's really just a speed rusher, doesn't really offer a ton. Outside of that, 86th in pressures, 89th in pass rush win rate. I'm not really high on Gregory, to be honest with you. I like the idea of maybe, during the middle of the season last year, going and making that move to add, bolster a pass rush. But as of right now, I'm not really interested. Bud Dupree, 31 years old, obviously free agent, 56th in pressures, 100th in win rate. Dupree's intriguing. It depends on the contract there. Could be, a option to slide right in there as a placeholder starter. I don't know if I would necessarily go that route, but I think he's definitely intriguing. And so for that reason, I'd say keep your options open. Bud Dupree wouldn't be an awful fit. 31 years old, will be 32 soon. Jadeveon Clowney, you're talking about 11th in pressures, 15th in win rate. Clowney is absolutely insane in the run game. I think this guy really makes the most sense if you're not willing to, if you don't really care about youth, if you don't really care about any sort of age or anything, Chase Young is not going to be an option for you. It would be Jadeveon Clowney. He's the most productive on this list, and it's by a country mile, to be honest with you. So I think Clowney makes a lot of sense in that regard. He's a guy I've highlighted before. I really do like Clowney, and I've said the Rams should have gone after him before, a couple years ago. But even still, I think he could do plenty on this Rams defense. So I like him as kind of the number one option if you're not interested in a Chase Young. It's, to me, Chase Young right now. I would say Chase Young. I would say Clowney and Ogbah as starters that I'd feel like okay to good about. After that, you got Marcus Golden. I've always liked Marcus Golden. I think he'd be a nice rotational piece. Jerry Hughes, 67th in pressures, 58th in win rate. He's 35. I mean, he's a 1-year guy. I don't think the Rams are looking to go that small there. I think maybe they go 1 year with Clowney, but I don't know if they're looking to take on a 35-year-old. So I think I'll pass on that. Justin Houston, 35 years old. I think I'll pass. Calais Campbell's 37. He's older, but 48th in pressures, 52nd in win rate. I wouldn't mind Calais Campbell. Maybe, he moves inside. I don't know. But I actually really do like Calais Campbell, so I'll throw him in there as well. Maybe not as a starter, but we'll see. So I think the best options, though, Chase Young, Jadeveon Clowney, Agba, and then Calais Campbell. And it'd be helpful, to have a guy like Calais Campbell, 37 years old, be a veteran, be a leader. And in addition to that, help some of these young guys. I mean, the Rams have a stable of young pass rushers that, we've talked about on this channel before. Nick Hampton, you have, O'Shawn Mathis, Byron Young, of course, and then they have Keir Thomas. So there's not a ton of experience there. And so for that reason, I think adding a guy like Campbell does make sense. But also it's not just an older guy, a guy that's really still playing at a high level. The trade options here, you got Hassan Reddick, 15th in pressures in 2023, 31st in win rate. Josh Sweat, 14th in pressures, 29th in win rate. Josh Allen, who's very unlikely at this point. I think the Jaguars are going to come to a deal, unfortunately. 5th in pressures, 7th in win rate. And Joey Bosa, who's up in the air right now because we talked about Mac. We opened it up saying Mac is not going to be available. Well, if Joey Bosa is available, my issue are his injuries, okay? In 8 games that he played, all the 8 games that he played, I took the filter on PFF and I filtered all the games that he played. So the weeks that he played, that's how the league was. He came in 31st in pressures and 21st in pass rush win rate. By the way, that rate was better than any Rams edge rusher in those times. So that is something to keep in mind here. In addition to that, though, I do have Joey Bosa's injury history in front of me. So 2016, December 11th, he suffers a cervical neck strain. So not great, obviously. And then in October 13th of 2016, not 2026, hand finger dislocation. He had a thigh hamstring strain grade 2, September of 2016. In August of 2018, he had a pedal foot bruise. In September of 2018. He had a cranial concussion in November 1st of 2020. And then it's another page. Cranial concussion in December of 2020. He had an ankle sprain / pull in September 22nd, 2021. Cranial concussion in 2021 at December. Groin tear grade 3, September 25th, 2022. And then this year, a foot sprain in November that cost him to miss the remainder of the 2023 season. So, according to Draft Sharks or Fantasy Shark, I think it's draftsharks.com. Joey Bosa's risk of injury is very high. He has an 89% chance of injury in 2024. I'm getting them confused now. So that's a percent chance missing at least 2 quarters, 89%. He has a chance of injury per game at 12.2%. He has a projected games missed of 2024 for 2.4, and his durability grade is 2.78 out of 5. I'm not going to lie with you, okay? If the Rams bring in Joey Bosa and it is a heavily incentivized contract, meaning he's got to essentially stay healthy for it to really be worth his while, if they're able to do that, I'm okay with it. Okay, I'm not trying to give him $20 million. I'm not even trying to give him $10 million. Okay, I'd give Joey Bosa, no joke, I'd give him maybe a multi-year deal, but incentives start, okay, we'll pay you $7 million, but his incentives to go up to 14. That's what I would do. Okay, I don't know what the Chargers are going to do with Bosa. What I do know is that Bosa is injury prone. Okay, I understand there's some fight against that term, injury prone, the negative connotation behind it, but call a spade a spade. Joey Bosa can't stay healthy. He's 28 though, And that is what is keeping him afloat as an option. Frankly, I think the best option in the trade market that is realistic is Josh Sweat. He offers the most against the run, whereas Hassan Reddick isn't as good against the run. He has more pressures than Reddick coming off 2023. He's younger than Reddick. He's somebody that you can really build your room around long term. And then I think Chase Young, like I mentioned, Chase Young, Jadeveon Clowney, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Calais Campbell. I'm not saying go after the 37-year-old. That's all you should do. I'm saying I'd be okay with those. So the best option to me is Josh Sweat. If Joey Bosa is an option, that's fine. But they better have it, put together in a way that kind of protects them from somebody that is always hurt. Again, he's 28. That's why we're talking about it. If he was 33, would have no interest. But it's going to be interesting. So I figured I'd bring this up. I'd just go through this list, wait until pretty much all the options were kind of exercised at this point. I mean, really, Chase Young is kind of the last real option when you talk about just younger guys. Then you have to get into your vets. I think Jadeveon Clowney is probably the one that makes legitimately the most sense because he can come right in. And if the Rams are trying to win a Super Bowl this year, which I believe they are, then Clowney could sign a one-year deal and try to, chase a ring. But also, he could set the tone, and he's great in the run game. Chase Young, he might be a little too young, honestly. He might not be as experienced enough for them to just put all that, pressure on him. I don't know. He's doing meetings, and the Rams aren't one of them, to be fair. So that's how I feel about that. All in all, I feel fine. I understand people are going to push back on it. I think the Rams know what they're doing. What I don't want is a draft where now you're at 19, maybe you trade up or whatever, but you feel like you're just pigeonholed into having to take an edge in the first round. To me, you got to stick to best player available. And if there are players that you identify that are going to be next level guys that are just a tick above everyone else, you should trade up for them. You should trade up for a Joe Alt. You should trade up for Rome Odunze if you think that he's worth trading up for. To me, I don't know if any of these edge defenders are worth trading up for. Maybe a little bit, but not way up. Personally, I think Laiatu Latu is the best option in the draft so far that I've watched out of UCLA. But I really like Jared Verse. He played 30 minutes away from me. And then, he transferred to Florida State. I really like him. I really like Braylon Trice. I like Chop Robinson. I like Austin Booker. There are, edge defenders to get excited about in this draft, and it's going to be fun to follow. But yeah, I got to be honest with you. I think the best option for them is probably Jadeveon Clowney at this point if they're not going to go after the 24-year-old Chase Young. That's my opinion. If we're doing a trade, I'm all for Josh Sweat, Joey Bosa conditionally. Hassan Reddick is a bit older. But I'd be okay with Hassan Reddick as well. Josh Allen would be the best move possible, but would cost the most and is the least likely. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? Drop them in the comment section below. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, folks. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.